Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to set up your Acuity account if you're a new salesperson or just a new user in general. So the very first thing you'll do is you'll go to acuityscheduling.com, click on log in the top right here. You'll enter your username, which is going to be your Oxford Pierpont email address. And you'll enter your default password if you have not changed it already. Generally speaking, your default password is going to be password with a capital P, so Password 1 2 3 4, and hit login. Alright, and it's going to open up your calendar. Now in most cases you will have access to both your calendar and my calendar. And so one of the first things you might see, of course, is my calendar, and you'll see this broken down into different views. So you have the today view, the week-long view, month view, and that's it. If you want to only see your calendar or my calendar in particular, you simply uncheck the one you don't want to see, and it shows you just that single calendar. So we're going to turn mine back on. Okay, and let's say that you want to have an appointment booked for you. Okay, so maybe you want to be able to give people the ability to add things to your calendar. You'll go to scheduling page link here, and you'll simply copy that. Or if you want to, maybe have a special link just to your calendar, you'll go to availability, click on your name, and there's the direct scheduling link there. So if we were to click on that, you have the default here, and we'll just copy. And if we paste this, now you have your particular calendar and all of the different appointment types that you have available to you. So let's say a person came to your calendar, they scheduled a consultation for SEO. So they'd select that. So for SEO, select their time zone, select the day. So we'll say the 16th here at 10:30. We'll continue. They'll enter their information. And name of their business. The person who's doing the scheduling will of course enter their name if it's one of the appointment setters. They'll indicate what type of appointment this is and any notes that they have about the appointment. And then they will get a confirmation for the appointment itself. And so when this happens, it goes over to your calendar. So let's go back here, and we see right there you have the appointment booked for today at 10:30. Now let's say that you want to customize your availability in the first place. So maybe you're not available from 9 to 5, maybe you want to change that to 8 to 4. So you'd go to availability, make sure that you're selecting the right calendar here, and you'll edit your availability limits. And instead of it being from 9 to 5, we'll say 8, and make sure this says 4. We'll copy that and simply paste this value here in the other days. Now on on Saturday and Sunday, let's say we're closed. So we'll simply delete the value there, and we'll save these regular hours. And that's it. Now, let's say that we want to go back, okay? And I know that let's go to the week view. So I know that on Tuesday, maybe I've got a lodge meeting, I'm not available on Tuesday, so I want to block off time. To do that, you'll click on block, choose the amount of time that you're trying to block off. So let's say the meeting is, it's going to occupy my time from, we'll say 4 p.m. because of traffic. So 4 p.m. until about, we'll say 8 p.m. Okay. And this is going to be not for today, but for Tuesday. And this is going to be for my calendar, and we'll just add a note and block off the time. Okay, so now we see that we have all of the time blocked off here. So if a person wanted to schedule an appointment for Tuesday, anytime after 4 p.m., they'll see that the appointment simply is not available. And let's go ahead and just show you what that looks like to a person who's scheduling. So let's schedule another appointment. Let's say this time it's going to be a mortgage lead software demo, and they're Eastern time. They are booking for the 17th, but they want a 5 o'clock appointment. You'll see there's nothing available after 3:30 p.m. because you're unavailable for that time. And what this does is it means that you have control of your calendar and when people can schedule if you're just diligent about blocking off your time when you are unavailable. However, with that said, if you know that you're going to be unavailable quite regularly, you do need to let someone in administration know, just so that they can understand, okay, this is what the expectations are for this week as a whole. But if it's something small like, hey, I've got to go get my kid, I'm going to be unavailable, for a couple of hours today, or maybe we've got parent-teacher conferences, maybe so-and-so is sick, or, today's my anniversary, whatever it is in that case, little one-off circumstances, it's okay to just go ahead and block that. Now, let's say also that you want to do something else like integrate, okay? So you may not always want to be logged into Acuity. You may instead decide, okay, I need to be able to see all of these different events on my own calendar. So you would go to integrations, okay? Oh, sorry, not integrations. You go to sync with other calendars. You can use Google Calendar for this. That's the one that works best. And let's say I'm going to just log into one of my other demo accounts here. All right, and so now Acuity is going to connect to this calendar. All right, and so we're not going to sync the Bob Hunter calendar, but we're going to sync my own there for this demo. And we've selected that, block off time in Acuity. So this, I'll explain what this means. Let's say that you have another event that's been scheduled on your regular calendar, but it was not scheduled in Acuity. It's going to show up in Acuity automatically so that you don't have to go and block off the time in two places. So that's extremely helpful. We'll set reminders for this appointment as well. And we'll save that. And so now what it's doing is syncing, so that if you have a Google Calendar that you are syncing with, or a different calendar, whether it's iCloud, Outlook, or something else, you'll be able to see all of your Acuity events on that calendar that you're most familiar with, and vice versa. So let's go into calendar.google.com. Okay. And look at that. So on my regular Google Calendar, let's dismiss the notifications here. So yep, on my regular Google Calendar, there's that demo appointment that we had scheduled. Now I'm going to also just take the time here and create a new event for, let's say it's going to be event, and we're going to set the date for Wednesday this time, and the time is going to be let's say 12:30 p.m. until 1:30 p.m. and save that. Alright, so we've got a demo event right here. Now as we go back to Acuity Scheduling, let's go home. Okay. And see if this demo event comes up. So let's try refreshing the screen. Let's see if that two-way, oh, yeah. Alright, so it might take a little bit of time for it to come to your calendar on Acuity from Google, but at least at the very least you have always the syncing, because this is syncing from Google right now. This is an event that someone else scheduled with me, and it just ends up on my Acuity calendar. Now another big, very big and important thing to remember as we're going through all of these different events and calendars and things like that. Let's uncheck this. So the labeling and note-taking. Let's say, for example, that we're talking to Albert here, and we had the conversation, and now we want to know for later, for the appointment setters, what happened on this call. You have different labels for, just different stages and different parts of the job. So for example, if you have a follow-up call, that means that you spoke with the client, or sorry, the prospect, and things went well, and now you've agreed, okay, this is going to be something that we're going to follow up with. And so you'd mark that as a follow-up call. Let's say that you had the call and it was totally useless. They had no idea that you were going to be calling. They didn't know why you were calling, or they just were completely unresponsive to the call. This is going to be considered an invalid appointment. And you should just leave notes in your system, and I'll show you how to leave notes in a second, but you should leave notes explaining why the appointment was invalid so that we can report that to our appointment setters. In some cases, they'll be able to get the call rescheduled. Otherwise, they will not get credit for that call. So it's incredibly important that you leave those notes. Next is a no-show appointment. So this is someone that you called twice and they did not pick up on either occasion. So first, you called them at the appointment time. So I guess in this case, it would be that we called at 9 a.m. The phone just rang. You ended up leaving a voicemail saying, hey, this is, demo account, and I'm calling for, so-and-so, so for Albert, regarding your, whatever the appointment is for, so 40 roofing leads. You just leave whatever kind of friendly voice message that you want. And then in 15 minutes or so, you call back for a second attempt. If they don't pick up the second time, you don't leave another voice message. You just come back into your system and mark it as a no-show appointment. And sometimes you'll find that they definitely do come and pick up the phone on the second attempt there. Now, not interested means that you were able to have the full conversation with the person and they just simply were not interested. And so we always make sure that the appointment setters still get credit for that. And it's incredibly important to make sure that you have the distinction between an invalid appointment and not interested. So the big difference here is on an invalid appointment, you never even had the chance to really explain why you were calling in the first place, what you were calling about, whether it's to talk about SEO or one of our other services. When it's not interested, it means you did have a chance to at least explain that conversation, explain what it is that you're calling for, what you do, and they just simply were not interested in becoming a customer or moving the conversation forward. On a sold contract, that means that you close the deal. Simple as that, and so you mark it as such. And stage 2 simply means you had a great conversation. This person really wants to speak to you, and the next conversation is going to be about actually closing the sale. So maybe on this one, and this is where it's different from a follow-up, on a follow-up, maybe they were interested, but they just need to bring in some other people. Maybe they say something like, oh, I'm just going to read over some things and I'll get back to you and let's talk again in a couple of days. But on a stage 2 appointment, that means that they are engaged and you are ready to actually go and process payments on the next appointment. So, big distinction there. And so those are the labels. Now, let's say that it's time to leave notes. You simply hit edit. You leave your notes about, when you called and, how the person's engagement was. And this is also for you in the future as well. But how the person's engagement was, what was talked about on the call, if any promises were made on the call, things like that. All of the notes go here. And these notes are private, so you can be more detailed if you like. And you just simply save that. And later, one of our sales coordinators and managers will come in and copy the notes that you leave in these appointments over to the appointment setters list so that they have an idea of what's going on the calls they set as well. And so you would save that, and that would be it for the notes. Now let's say that you have to reschedule an appointment. So I won't do it on one of these real ones, but let's say that you've got this appointment here. So there's that Google Calendar event. It finally came up. So I guess it takes a few minutes there. But let's say that you've got this event coming up and you want to reschedule it. There are two different ways of rescheduling an appointment. So I'll show you the first one. First is to reschedule and send an email, meaning that you want the person to know, hey, I'm moving your appointment, and it's going to send them an email. So let's say that it's supposed to be for today at 10:30, but instead it's going to be, we'll say, at 11, okay? Maybe they called you or you called them, whatever it is. If you hit reschedule appointment by itself, it's going to send out an email to the client letting them know that their appointment has been rescheduled. But what if it's a circumstance where maybe you're just moving an appointment from one calendar to another, but the time is still going to be the same, okay? Well, we don't want to bombard our clients with too many emails. And so you'd hit this little drop down arrow here and you'd say reschedule, but don't send email. And an example of that is, let's say you're moving this from your calendar to my calendar. So you'd highlight my calendar now, highlight the same day, and highlight the time that the appointment is going to be for. So if the original is at 10:30, let's say that now we're going to, make it, 11:30, and we want to reschedule that, but we don't want to let the client know for whatever reason. Maybe it's a different time zone, so it ends up being the same time for the client or something like that. So we would reschedule, but don't send email. And that's it. So now if we look at my calendar again, there's the appointment. And now it's on my calendar instead of being on yours. Another way of moving appointments around, let's say again, it's going to be just because of a time zone conflict. So we do not want to let the client know that we're just moving things around, just switching salespeople here. So we just simply move that to the demo calendar. We want to reschedule, but don't send the email. And that's it. And so now the appointment is on the demo calendar or your calendar. And those are pretty much the basics there. So just to recap, you log in, you can change how your view is set up. You can change which calendars are in view so that you kind of have an overview of what is, what's on your plate for the week. Whenever you have an appointment, you always want to make sure you put the appropriate labels on it. So if it's a no-show, or if it's an invalid appointment or anything else, you want to make sure you put those labels on it. You want to make sure that you take notes. If you need to schedule a new appointment while the person is on the phone, you just simply click on schedule a new appointment and select the appointment type for them, and then just simply schedule it the same way you've been doing everything else. If you need to change your availability, you go to availability. you make sure that you click on your name and choose your availability limits. You can change all of that here if you know that you have different times that you are going to be working. If you need to block a time off, you would click here. And if you need to access your scheduling page link, you can see that right here. And your scheduling page link is also, your direct link, is right there. And that's it. So hopefully this helps you understand just a little bit better how Acuity Scheduling works, how everything is set up, what your options are when you get in there, and how to customize things, how to integrate with, synchronize with other calendars and everything else. If you have more questions, just feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to help you. All right, guys, thanks.